Hey guys, what is going on? And it is Chris here once again looking ahead to today's slate, 7 game main slate for FanDuel. I think DraftKings has a little bit bigger slate. I think it's the 9 game slate. They added the Colorado game just because they like doing that. So anyway, yeah, FanDuel has a little bit smaller slate. Not the greatest slate out there. There's a couple half decent. Sorry, there is a couple half decent stacks to look at, but for the most part, it's one of those. Uh, you know, Interesting slates that may go either way. So anyway, last night was not too shabby for us. Most of the plays that I was talking about in the video, if you guys paid attention to, were mostly everyone that I put in here. So hopefully you guys can see that. Anyway, we had Gray. I put him in there because I was going to go a little bit more GPP plus. Like I said, he was facing Toronto, and fortunately he had one of the best games he's had in a while. Put in Matt Wieters just because he gave me let me have Mike Trout in there, so that helped out quite a bit. I stacked my Dodger stack. Unfortunately, they added Luis Alvarez and some other guys in there to help do that bullpen game. So they did okay, some of them, but it wasn't the greatest. Unfortunately, Torres did okay. Trout and Goldschmidt were the two big ones in this one. Trout was very solid, and Goldschmidt was a solid pick as well. So overall, not too bad with a 156.5. Definitely will take that and cash very easily. DraftKings won as well. I did not get to play that one, and we had Gray and Jacob deGrom in that one, and then Robinson Chirinos as a catcher. I think that one was like a 113, 114. It did cash in double up, so I didn't have a photo of that one, but we did win there as well. So as normal, we'd love to have you guys come join us. $10 a week for FanDuel and $10 a week separately for DraftKings. To get in on it, check out our Twitter in the comment section, or you can just hit us up here if the Twitter doesn't show up for some reason in the comment section. So as normal, you will have to have a Slack to get our lineups. If you don't know what that is, just check it out. It's a free thing to download. It just makes it easier for everybody to see the lineup at the same time. So that is it for their 2-game winning streak for FanDuel. So we'd love to have you guys come join us. So anyway, it is an early start here for Sunday, as it usually is. So we will go through some of the we'll just go by game. There's not many games, so it should be a relatively quick video. So we get Jeff Shamarja and Gabriel Yona. I think that's how you say it, Yono. Anyway, we got these two guys. These are the two highest projected run totals on the slate as of now. Baltimore has a slight edge over San Francisco by, I think, like 0.2 or something like that. I think it's like 4.84 projected run for Baltimore and 4.64 or something like that for San Francisco. So I will be watching this one throughout the day. They are expecting to get to Jeff Shamarja in this one. If not, they are expected to get to the bullpen. He's not pitching too bad with 3.83, but Baltimore, they got a couple guys that can hit for sure. Had a good one against Atlanta, but besides that, he hasn't really been doing much, been giving up quite a bit of earned runs here. So I really don't mind a couple Baltimore guys in this one at all. I think they'll be relatively popular with that 9.5 total here in this one. So, yeah, guys, I'm looking at, I like Mancini. Don't mind Alberto. He's not going to get you a lot, maybe 9, maybe 10. Nunez and Villar. I think the main guys I'm looking at is Nunez and Villar. Those are my two top guys in this one. And then probably Trey Mancini is probably my third option here, if that's the way you want to go. Keon Broxton only in a GPP, home run or bust for him. So the two, like I said, I'm looking at is Villar and I think Nunez are my two big main options, and then Alberto and Trey Mancini are my second options. Do not mind Pedro Severino if you guys are doing DK. He is in a pretty good spot there for a catcher. So pitching wise, I probably won't have any of these guys on here. San Francisco bats, you can look at Brandon Belt if you want to. Crawford maybe because he's cheap, but that's mostly it. I'm not too high on San Francisco in this one. Like I said, maybe a couple bats exposure, but I'm not too into it. But I do like Belt, probably my favorite out of the San Francisco side. All right, moving on. Washington and Cincinnati in this one. We have Max Scherzer and Sonny Gray, not the highest totals as you would expect. So I do like Max Scherzer. I think he will be very, very popular. I don't think he's a must-have, but he's still in a pretty good spot. He's not as great as he was last year. The strikeout to walk ratio is still pretty good, but does give up his run. So don't mind Scherzer if you're going that way. Sonny Gray, he's another one of those guys that's in a half-decent spot, could get you 30, 33 fantasy points. On the hitting side, I'm not too into any of the hitters on the side. Like I said, Sonny Gray looking half-decent recently. Strikeouts in his last 3 games are looking pretty solid. So Washington, like I said, one of those teams that they can either get to you or they can kind of suck. So I'm not going really anywhere on this one as of now. It is a 8.5 total, so not the greatest out there. Like I said, if Washington's total rises throughout the morning, then I'll definitely give them a shot. But as of now, I really don't have too much exposure to this one. I might look at Turner, but for the most part, not too into it. Moving on, we got Minnesota and Tampa Bay. We got Jake Odorizzi against Ryan Yarbrough. Yarbrough was half decent the last couple of years, but this year not looking the greatest out there. 5.53. I don't expect him to go too many innings here, just because, like I said, if he gets lit up in a couple innings, Rays are not afraid to go their bullpen in this one. So anyway, 5.53, a lefty. Let me see here. Minnesota, I think, had one of the highest projected totals, and for good reason. They do. They can hit pretty good. So, yeah, I'm looking at Crone. Even though they are lefties, I do like Eddie Rosario, Max Kepler, and for sure love Jorge Polanco. So those are my top 4 guys. I think they're in very good spots. And if I forgot, I'm not going to pronounce this guy's name. If he's in there, I don't mind him just to get in maybe some Max Scherzer. You can look at Miguel Sano if he's in there. I think a full stack could be half decent in this one, and also don't mind Marwin. So there's 3 or 4 of them in this Minnesota one that I do not mind. Like I said, not the greatest slate. So for me, this is one of the top 2 stacks here tonight. And then on that Minnesota side, you can look at Jake Odorizzi if you want to. Not the greatest matchup against Tampa Bay, but like I said, the dude's been pitching pretty good this year. And, they could get to him a little bit. Minnesota definitely can get to Tampa in this one. He had a couple bad ones against LA, but I still think he can get you back to his 38-40 in this one. So, like I said, attacking the Minnesota side, hitting-wise, and maybe put in Jake Odorizzi here. Anyway, this is an interesting one. We got Matthew Boyd against Julio Teheran. Detroit, one of the lowest totals on the slate. And surprisingly, Atlanta, one of the highest totals on the slate, even though they're facing one of the top pitchers in the league and Matt Boyd with only a 2.85 ERA. So, yeah, the good thing for Atlanta is the last 2 games that Boyd has really done good. He's faced 2 of the worst teams in the entire league. So that's a good thing for Atlanta. Like I said, when he does face some half-decent teams with Oakland and Houston, has a little bit of issues here. I don't really consider LA or Kansas City good. So looks like when he faces a half-decent team, he gives up some runs here. And I think Atlanta, as of now, are projected at five total runs in this one. So one of the highest on the main slate. So that tells me that, they're expecting Atlanta to score in this one. So I'm looking at Swanson. Don't mind some Freeman, Josh Donaldson for sure. Maybe Ozzy Albies, not my highest pick, but you can also, maybe look at him if you need someone cheap there. Like I said, I do like Swanson quite a bit. Austin Riley's in a very good spot. Ronald Acuna. So I think Atlanta is probably my top stack, and then Minnesota is right behind him. And on the flip side, like I said, Detroit has one of the lowest run totals. So I don't mind Julio Teheran if you need someone relatively in that medium range. He has been pitching half decent recently in his last couple games, as you see here, 32-33, 31-34. Had a bad one against St. Louis. Not really that bad, just didn't have a strikeout. Still only give up 1 run. So, like I said, the dude's not going to get you a lot, maybe 31-33, 34 fantasy points in this one. But still, that's pretty solid if you're looking for a mid-range guy. So, yeah, don't mind, like I said, that Atlanta stack, and don't mind Julio Teheran. I forgot what his pricing was on DK, but if it's half decent, then I don't mind him over there. Jordan Lyles and Zach Davies, I'm just not touching this one at all. I think there's a little bit of weather issue in this one. I said it's early in the morning. But there's a little bit of chance of rain. We'll have to watch that throughout the day. But straight up, I'm really not into this one. Lyles is really not the worst pitcher out there. Maybe you can put in a couple Milwaukee guys if you want to go that way. I don't think their ownership will be too high here. I had a bad couple ones there against Colorado and Cincinnati. He had a hamstring injury, but like I said, that's up to you guys. The totals on this game aren't too crazy. Like I said, if Milwaukee starts going up the leaderboards and the totals, then I'll look at them. But as of now, I'm not really too high into this one. And Davies, another guy that kind of just controls, and Pittsburgh doesn't really have too much offense there. So if this one maybe goes up, then I'll look at it. But as of now, I'm not too high into it. No total, but I'm expecting around maybe an 8.5 in this one. But like I said, we'll have to see where it is. All right, moving on. We got the Cleveland and Chicago White Sox. We have where are we at here? 8.5 total. They have the White Sox at 4.5 points, which could be tricky here. Anyway, we got Zach Plesac here pitching, and he did pitch his first game against Boston. I think he had 85 or 86 pitches in that one. You got to remember, he was facing a Boston team that can definitely hit. Didn't do too much like strikeouts wise, but got around a couple guys there. They pulled him, gave up the one earned run, but it wasn't because of him. I mean, it was, but it wasn't. He wasn't one who gave it up. It was his, but he wasn't the one who was pitching. That makes sense. So in a GPP, I really don't mind going Zach Plesac here. I know Chicago could hit, so I might have a couple Chicago bats in this one, but also I wouldn't be surprised if Zach Plesac does a half-decent game here and gets you maybe 23, 24 points. I'm not expecting a ton from the dude, but maybe it's a half-decent one. It's 8.5 total. I personally think it's going to go under the 8.5, but that's just me. Next, we got Lucas Giolito. I think one of the top plays on the slate. Cleveland, like I said, they can hit a little bit, but they also strike out a ton, and Giolito has been just crazy good this year. Had 56 last time against Cleveland. So for sure, for me personally, Giolito is my number one pitcher over Max Scherzer in this one, and that is mostly it. So if you want to go a couple Chicago bats, I don't mind it. They have one of the higher totals, but kind of like Colorado last night. Had the highest total up there, but my gut feeling told me they weren't going to score a lot, and it was true. So that's kind of how I feel about this one. All right, moving on. Last game, Chicago and St. Louis. Cole Hamels, Adam Wainwright. Both of them it's around a 4.2, 4.3 run totals for both these guys. I don't have too much from this one. You can definitely look at a couple Chicago bats in this one if you want to, with Bryant and maybe a little bit of Rizzo. But for the most part, I don't have too much in this one. Like I said, I'm going to be watching that run total and see how it goes. So that is kind of what we're looking at there. So if I had to do some stacks here, if I had to rank them, I go Atlanta, Minnesota, Baltimore's right in there, right behind those guys. There's not too many stacks in that game. There's only about two that I really like. And then probably a couple from the Chicago-St. Louis game is where I would go after that. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Like I said, Giolito, I think, is for sure my number one option. If you're not going that way, don't mind Julio Teheran. And then if you want to go just deep GPP, I don't mind taking a shot with Zach Plesac, but more of a DraftKings play over there. So that is mostly it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Not the most games, not the greatest slate out there, but that's what we're looking at. If you guys are playing some DK, 11 total and then a 12.5. Yeah, so I think DK is looking a little better because you get these two monster totals here and not the greatest pitchers out there. So I think DK should be a little better than FanDuel just because of the leverage here with these two games. But for the most part, shouldn't be, hopefully not too bad. So that is mostly it. As normal, we'd love to have you guys come join us. $10 a week for FanDuel and $10 a week separately for DraftKings. To get in on it, check out our website down there or in the comment section below. All right, guys, that is it. Hopefully you guys enjoy your Sunday, and we'll see you guys a little bit later.